Guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Amanda.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Kendra.
And today, I can't believe that we haven't ever talked about this, but we're going to talk about something called forest bathing. And the purpose of this episode is to explore the benefits of forest bathing, what it is, explain some of the scientific research, and provide actionable steps for physicians to practice it in their busy lives.
Imagine stepping into a quiet forest where the air feels fresh and the stress melts away. This is the essence of forest bathing. Let's define forest bathing. Originated in Japan in the 1980s as a preventative healthcare practice, involves immersing oneself in nature and engaging the senses mindfully. How is this relevant to physicians? Well, burnout rates among healthcare professionals are at an all-time high. Obviously, we know this. Nature-based therapies offer a complementary tool for mental health and stress management.
So there is some actual science regarding forest bathing. It can help several things, including stress reduction, immune function, mental health, and then cardiovascular health. So the first study about stress reduction is a 2010 study in environmental health and preventive medicine that found that forest bathing lowers cortisol levels, blood pressure, and heart rate compared to urban settings. And the reason for this is that there's something called phytoncides, which are organic compounds released by the trees that enhance the relaxation. So just spending 20 minutes in a forest can significantly reduce stress biomarkers. And then let's talk about the immune function. I learned about this when it was COVID time and we did not have anything. And so I was looking for anything and all things that we hadn't tried yet to enhance people's immune function. And one of the things that popped up was forest bathing. And it was really cool because they took some medical students, I think from Tokyo, and they took them for like a 4-hour hike in a forest. And afterwards, they measured their natural killer cells and they had all enhanced, and they stayed enhanced for about a week. And so then they did a subsequent study that maybe it was just, that they took them out of medical school. I mean, that would be relaxing compared to being in medical school. So they had them go to like a relaxing resort, but not in the forest. And that helped some, but then they pumped these phytoncides, the things that they're theorizing help us with our immune system. And sure enough, it did increase their killer T cells, their natural killer cells, by like half of what it was in the forest. So I love this because when you're out walking in the forest, it's amazing to imagine these trees like sprinkling little magic immune protectants on you. I like to imagine it that way. So and that was by Dr. Ching Lee. That was his research on that it boosts your immune system. Now, there's another study that shows that forest bathing boosts your mental health. There was a 2019 meta-analysis published in Frontiers in Psychology that found that forest bathing reduced symptoms of anxiety, depression, and fatigue. And the thinking is that time in nature promotes mindfulness and reduces mental rumination. And those are key contributors to emotional well-being. It is when you're distracted by the butterflies and you're distracted by the sounds in the trees. It is so much easier to stay present. I mean, I'm also capable of ruminating in the forest, but it just does make it easier to be mindful and present. And then the last study that we'll talk about was published in the International Journal of Biometeorology, which I don't know what that is, but
Awesome.
In 2011, fancy, that showed that forest bathing improves heart rate variability. So improves your cardiovascular health, improves your parasympathetic tone, and that suggested that it's reducing stress on the cardiovascular system.
That's amazing. I was actually just talking to a client yesterday. She's about to go through kind of a transition and stressful time. And she's like, I just need to figure out how I'm going to take care of myself through this. And what she landed on was she was going to do like a 15-minute walk in the woods around her house after she comes home from work. She tried it before and it had been really beneficial to her. And I loved it. I was like, this is hitting so many things. It's hitting needing to be in nature. It's hitting a little bit of exercise, and it is hitting mindfulness. And you can almost be in a meditative state when you're out hiking. You have to be present. Otherwise you're like tripping on tree roots and whatnot. You have to really kind of be there instead of off worrying about work. So I think it is a really powerful way to get a bunch of different modalities for wellness in one little package. So I think it's awesome. So what are some practical applications for we physicians in terms of forest bathing? So kind of like what I was just talking about with my client, you can do micro doses of nature where you can visit a nearby park or garden for 10 to 15 minutes, maybe during a break or on the way to or on the way home from work. I have one client who rides her bike to work, and she likes to stop at a park on the way home and just sit on a bench and kind of soak it in before she goes home to her kids. So any time we spend like that, no matter how small, will make a difference for us and for the people around us. Take a weekend retreat. So you could dedicate a half a day or a whole weekend to a forest hike or nature immersion. And I love camping. I don't do it often. I love camping and backpacking in particular. There's nothing like it to really shift your perspective on what you need in life and how, what an incredible gift a hot shower and clean clothes are at the end of that trip, and how you can really have a lot of joy with very little in terms of material possessions. I love being out in nature, even overnight. That's a great way to get a little extra dose and a great way to connect with your family if you choose to do that with your family. Mindful nature walks. So as you're walking, you can engage all of your senses. For example, focus on the sound of the leaves rustling, the smell of the evergreen trees, or the texture of tree bark. Sometimes you can even taste the air as you're out walking in nature. So, what are some techniques for how to do this? Number one, leave technology behind to minimize distractions. So, of course, you could listen to a podcast or music, but there's a lot of benefit to just listening to the leaves and the animals rustling in the forest. Secondly, you can walk slowly and mindfully. So this isn't like, marathon training in the woods, although there's benefits to that too. It's really just trying to soak it up with no set destination or goal. However, don't get lost in the woods. We don't want to see you on I Shouldn't Be Alive show or something if you get lost. Number 3, sit quietly, observe, and reflect. So as you walk by a nice big flat rock that's overlooking a stream, that's a perfect invitation for you to sit down and just reflect and, again, just soak in all that beautiful nature around you. So how can we introduce forest bathing to our patients? We can encourage them to spend time in nature for stress relief and mental health. It really is such a powerful way to improve their well-being. Provide some resources for them. So suggest local parks. If you have a favorite spot that you love, if it's a patient you like, you could tell them about it. Don't tell them about it if it's not somebody you want to see showing up there. So suggest local parks, trails, or guided Shinrin-Yoku sessions. So, and Shinrin-Yoku, I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, is the Japanese name for forest bathing. So I guess some places have this going on where they have guided sessions. I think that is incredible. And share evidence-based benefits like studies that we have in the show notes here to improve patient adherence, meaning not all of our patients listen to everything we say, and sometimes showing them that it really is proven to help may increase their likelihood of trying it. So what could be some barriers to implementing forest bathing for us and for our patients? Well, there might be lack of nearby green spaces. If you're out in the desert, you can find an alternative to forest bathing. Being just outside is also a gift to your mind, body, and spirit. If you don't have green spaces, you can have indoor plants, or there's probably some beautiful landscaping somewhere nearby. Listen to natural soundscapes, or find an urban park that will give you a little bit of that dose of green. Barrier 2, limited time. This isn't like having to be an 8-hour hike on Saturday, just a little bit. And this is true of any wellness initiative we're trying to get going for ourselves. Just a little dose of it, just to teach ourselves that this is something we do for us, even if you're just stopping on the way home for 5 minutes, makes a big difference. We can always carve out those tiny bits of time. And it helps our brain overcome the objection if we make it a small amount of time until we want to expand it more. And odds are, if you get started on doing some forest bathing, you're going to want to linger a little bit. So just say, this is something I'm going to do. I spend way too much time in front of my computer and inside, and I'm going to get some fresh air for 5 minutes every day on the way home from work.
Okay, so we've talked about forest bathing and how it helps reduce stress, boost your immune system, help with mental and cardiovascular health. And you can get started with something as simple as getting an indoor plant or taking a 10-minute walk. So we always give homework. And so the challenge is this week, take 10 to 15 minutes. If you live in Arctic tundra, you might want to just get the soundscape and a plant inside. But if you can get out and it's like decent and sunny, immerse yourself in nature for 10 or 15 minutes and notice how you feel before and afterward. And if you do this, we'd love to hear from you. So please share your experiences with taking a walk in nature or incorporating it into your patient care. We have a way you can do that. Email podcast@thewholephysician.com and tell us about it. And be sure to tune in next week for another episode focused on wellness strategies for busy physicians. If you're stressed and want to talk to a physician coach, click the link below. There's also a link to a free video, How to Crush Physician Burnout for Good Without Cutting Back Hours, Quitting Medicine or Suffering in Silence. And until next time, you are whole, you are a gift to medicine, and the work you do matters.